we're going to start off with Dr. Marie-Ange Tanye. She's a product manager at Roku, where she's going to be sharing from her experience in tech and nonprofit space, healthcare and education in particular, as well as the mentoring she's been doing with women of color in STEM. She's going to be giving us a few ideas on how to bring about racial reconciliation and greater inclusion in society in general.
So thank you so much, Nicole, for this wonderful introduction. Thank you for the Passion Talk organizer for this wonderful event. This is my first actually Passion Talk ever. Nicole is a good friend of mine. She's told me about this organization or this initiative for a while, but this is actually the first time I'm able to attend as a speaker. I've listened to some of the presentation earlier today. It was just very, very great. I learned a lot. So really super excited to be able to share with you my heart about this, I would say, very emotional topic of economic justice, how to bring about economic justice. So let me move to the next one. So the title of my talk, my passion talk, is Economic Justice Look Like Something. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. This comes from Matthew 25:35. This verse is very dear and near to my heart. And hopefully by the end of this talk, you're going to understand why. So what is biblical economic justice? As I was preparing this passion talk, I did some research, right? I did some research online on the dictionary as well as in the Bible. What I saw from Webster Dictionary, basically, justice is defined as the maintenance and the administration of what is just by legislative law and impartial adjustment. So you have there the notion of law, the notion of legality, the notion of making sure that there's some kind of compliance. Another definition say assignment of merited rewards or punishment, right? So if somebody did something right, you get a reward. Somebody did something wrong, he gets punished. Now let's contrast the Webster Dictionary definition with what the Bible say. As I was going through the Bible, throughout the Bible, actually, God is called as the righteous one. He's called as the just one. And justice is usually referred in terms of relationship. It's about right relationship with God, first of all, and then right relationship with your fellow human being, right? It's about relationship. It's turning wrong to right. I like this definition from Cornel West, who is a famous philosopher, African-American activist, author. He says that justice is what love looks like in action. I love that. So it's about love. There's a notion of your heart. Where is your heart from, right? It's not just the morality. It's not just the legal. It's the heart. So as I learn more, look more in the scripture, right? Every time the word justice actually appears, it's toward a certain people group. It's usually toward the poor, the weak, the fatherless, the widow. Let's look at some example. Isaiah 1:17 says, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless and please the widow cause, right? There's the fatherless, people who don't have fathers, and the widows, people who have lost women who have lost their husband. Psalm 82:3, give justice to the weak, again, the weak, the not have, the people who are destitute, the fatherless, maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Again, it's towards a certain group of people when the word justice is mentioned. So what is my definition as I think about that? What is my definition of economic justice? The way I'm thinking about this is bringing God's justice, right, from the heart, out of love, in the area of economic empowerment to the less privileged. So how did I come about to be so passionate about this topic? Yeah, I'm sharing a little bit about my journey. I was born, as maybe my accent, some of you guys can guess, I was born in Africa, Central Africa, speak French. I have a very French accent. Cameroon is the country. That's the flag right there. I was born in a middle-class family, if I can say so. My mom was a medical doctor. For many of you guys, if you don't know the developing country, like the economic ladder is usually like a pyramid. On the bottom of the pyramid, you have the majority of the people, maybe 85% of people are poor or live below the poverty line. 10% to 15% are in the middle class, upper middle class, right? That's where I feel like we were. My mom was educated. And then you have 5% who are so wealthy, even as more wealthy sometimes than in the West. So my mom being a medical doctor, I want to say we're in the middle class. We had everything we need when we were growing up, even, from a developing country. I remember my mom paying for swimming classes, tutor to do music classes. If we didn't, we had challenge in some of the subjects, she would pay for tutor for that. And we used to give, food. My mom used to tell me that, that next door neighbor doesn't have enough food today. I remember using to give food to the neighbors. We passed down our clothes, our shoes to our family member who didn't have enough. So with that sense, that was morality, right? How to help other people. And I got saved when I was 11. I had an encounter with Jesus. That's another story. Wonderful experience where I really I decided to follow Christ. Start reading the Bible, start being impregnated with what the scriptures say. My heart started getting broken about what the Bible is actually teaching about justice, right? I talk about the less privileged, the destitute, the not half of the society. And it was more than just the moral. It was out of a heart of love and compassion that I knew I had to do something. Very young in my teenager, as I say, I was 11. I remember in some of my classroom in middle school, I had some friends who were orphan. They lost their parent. And I used to give all my stipend, the money that my mom would give me, for the week, I will give it to those kids. And I still remember one of those, he still sent me email today to say, thank you, Marie, for what you did. So that's the way I was raised, grew up, like, morality first in terms of economic justice, and then my conversion to Christianity. Came to the US when I was 19 to pursue college, graduated with my bachelor in mathematics and PhD from Berkeley. Started working as a research scientist. I went through, different corporations that you see there, IBM, Intel, McAfee, and Amazon, now I'm at Roku. So in all these different corporations, I've always seek, right? How can I be the hands? How can I be the feet? How can I be the voice of Jesus? I joined some of the employee group at Intel. I was part of the board of women at Intel, where I was actually bringing minority African-American girl to company. That's one of the organizations right there, Tech Bridge, to basically expose them what it means to be a technical leader, right, in a company like Intel. We did some workshop with them. We tried to be basically role model, because many of these girls didn't have role model. Girl for Change is another organization I work closely with, taking one girl from the beginning of the semester or the academic year till the end. We do like a project, a leadership project based on their interest and their passion, so that at the end of that, they can see that they can become whatever they want to become. Friends of Africa, we brought some free healthcare screening in different parts of Africa, and just amazing initiative to bring healthcare, education, reconciliation through different organizations. I have so much more, and I can speak more into them. So again, that's my passion, going just for morality, right? Something that, is the right thing to do too. This is actually God's heart. It's about loving your neighbor. It's about having compassion. So economic justice looks like something. Again, this is the title of my presentation. What does it look like? These are 5 words that I want to probably propose to you guys as key takeaway, right? To be able to think about that and reflect on those. Economic justice looks like prayer. For those who know me, I'm a prayer geek. I believe in the power of prayer. What we see in the natural world, right? Many times we have to pray in the spiritual world of what's going on. As you start praying, God will open your eyes and He will show you the needs of your community, of people around you, right? Of the destitute, of the weak, right? When something happens in the world, right, you're not going to be silent, because out of a heart of prayer, right, you're going to say, I have to do something. I have this verse here, James 5:16, where the Bible said the prayer of the righteous man avails much, right? For me, prayer is the key. And Jesus modeled us so much prayer. He wake up early in the morning to pray for everything, even before choosing his own disciple. The second one, love. I will actually mix love and care. I talk a little bit about justice from biblical perspective. It's about a heart of love, right? It's not about of guilt. It's not about morality. It's loving your neighbor, which is part of the first commandment, Matthew 22:39. It's about caring. John 6:5 says, Jesus saw the crowd that were hungry and he had compassion. So do you have compassion when you see the folks, what is happening with racial injustice? Do you have compassion when you see homelessness? Do you have compassion when you see that there's a gap between those who, the majority of people who get COVID-19, right, are the less privileged, the minority people, right, because they are the essential workers? Is your heart full of compassion? And God wants us to have compassion so that we can take action. Again, it's not out of morality. It's not out of guilt. It's a heart of love and compassion, which is our God. As you pray, you have love, you have compassion, you can reach out. I was very, very angry and very disturbed, like many of you guys, by the events surrounding the murder of George Floyd. Many times I would pray silently. I would ask God to have his way as a prayer person. But this time I couldn't stay silent. I wrote a whole op-ed on Facebook. and I made it public, and I share my feeling. And out of that, right, the Lord really impregnated in my heart to start conversation, racial conversation, right, within my own community, which is majority Caucasian white, to be able to talk about this issue. How can we be the hands, the feet of Jesus? Many of them are not even believer, right? But being able to bring those people together and say, this is a problem. Let's talk about our feeling and let's address it. I did the same thing at my company at Roku, to be able to talk about it. And today we have some initiative where we can actually take some action about that. So again, justice, economic justice looks like reaching out, right? Let's not just be silent. How do we reach out? And finally, economic justice looks like giving. Give your time, right? Give your resource. We know that we need money for many of the event or many of the initiative that needs to be taking place for economic justice. So if you cannot reach, if you don't have time, you can probably give your resource. And many of us in Silicon Valley, we have the possibility to give our resource. Start where you are today, right? I don't think it's rocket science. God has given us passion. Many of us, we are in corporate America. We have an industry, I call it mountain, right? Where God has placed you. If you're in the healthcare industry, and based on, again, the data from COVID-19, we know that the majority of folks who have been impacted by this disease are minority, are African American or Latino. They are essential workers. They have to go to Target. They have to go to Costco. They are exposed to the virus. Many of them don't have healthcare insurance. Many of them have predetermined disease like hypertension, diabetes, high blood pressure. Many of them, they don't do checkup every year. I just came back actually from Idaho, where I spent last week a vacation with my family, and I learned about an initiative where public, private, churches come together to give free healthcare screening once a year to population. Farming population is a big farming land, to farming population who don't have healthcare insurance. I was thinking about it for Silicon Valley. I say, all these people in Central Valley that we see the rate is growing every day. Can we, we are part of corporate America, churches, private entity, put together some fares so that those who cannot even go to the hospital every year for checkup, to check some of these basic ailments, they can have free healthcare screening. I did it myself when I was back home. So I think this is something we can definitely take action. Education, I talk about my passion for education. There are not many that look like me in corporate America, Black women, right? And my passion has been, how can I be the role model? How can I be a mentor? How can I reach out to the younger generation and tell them they can be whatever they want to be? They can be a scientist, they can be an engineer, they can be whatever they want to do. So I mentioned some organizations like Girls for Change, Big Brother, Big Sister, Akilidada is another one, right? Reaching out to the younger folks, to the disprivileged, mentoring, right? Now, even with this virtual learning, we just start virtual learning with my daughter, she's 5, right? 5, we are starting virtual learning because of this COVID-19. I'm thinking my heart is broken for many of these essential workers who have kid age like my young girl, and they cannot be home to do virtual learning for their kids, or they don't have internet, a high-speed internet. I was thinking, how do they do it? And I learned about different co-op initiative where parents can actually come together to be able to bring kids from other disadvantaged community into their home so that they can also they are not behind in the schoolwork. So this is one thing that we can do if we have the resource or the bandwidth. Entrepreneurship and capitalism is a next big area. Data shows that the startup or the business that are led by minority, right, get less funding than those who are led by white Caucasian. That's very much, you can read it out there. And many of us, maybe we are in the financial industry, we are VC, we are angel investor. My challenge for us, right, in that domain, can we make sure we have a portfolio of company that are represented of minority, women? Can you make sure you support business? I remember, Nicole, you sent some stuff on Facebook about some of the African American business that are doing good food, restaurant, right? Support those, right? I made a point during this COVID-19 to be able to go to this restaurant so that they don't have to go bankruptcy. We can all do something, right, in that. So that's a big area, capital investment, inclusion, reconciliation, giving what we know, the event that has been happening, racial unrest, right? There's so many things happening now in companies, in corporation, in neighborhood, right? Can we be part of the solution? If you're an HR, make sure that you have objective to hire more minority, more people of color, part of your IMBOs, part of your KPI, right? That you can be measured by that. Promotion is a big one. Many get higher, but they don't get promoted as the same rate as the counterpart, the majority counterpart. So if you're a manager, can you make sure, can this be part of your KPI that I want to promote more people of color? Housing, hospitality. My family, my husband and I, we've been part of visiting the homeless in the city of San Jose for almost 3-4 years. Every Sunday, we were going to Costco, buy a lot of food for them, and just going and sit down on the street in San Jose, downtown, right there in downtown with them, to listen, not to just come and preach them the gospel, listen to their story, be where they are. I believe that's what Jesus did, right? With the Samaritan woman and with the people he met, be where they are. And my heart was broken to see all type of situation. Again, most of them were minority, most of them, there were some unfortunate situation. Many of them are veterans who went to war and came back with PTSD, right? They didn't have any family and they find themselves on the street. My encouragement for many of us, right? San Francisco has the same problem of homelessness. We can do something about that. Actually, San Jose City has a program where if you open your home, if you have a room in your home and you open your home to rent out to one of these veteran, there's some condition, of course, some requirement. You rent out your room to those people, they subsidize it, right? This is something that I definitely want to be part of, right? So in the housing, in the hospitality, we can definitely be part of the solution. So again, you start where you are and you ask God for other industry, other area where you have passion, where you can definitely be part of the solution. Now to conclude, I start with this verse again, Matthew 25, where Jesus say, I was hungry, you fed me. So then the righteous man, I want to conclude that, then the righteous will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry and fed you? And the king will reply, again, this is Jesus. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for the least of this brother and sister of mine, you did it for me. So whatever you did for the least of this sister and brother of mine, you did it for me. Thank you so much. I hope I'm able to encourage you and just challenge you to be the hands, the feet, and the voice of Jesus wherever you are to bring economic empowerment to the less privileged. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing your talk. That was incredible. That was incredible. I love how you associated the practical steps that you can take in different spheres. And I just have one question for you as I was listening. My question is, I love the point about picking a wrong to right as a definition of justice. But one thing that is often easy to feel is that there's things that are so big, institutions, especially financial ones, that are so challenging to correct that it's hard to find yourself and know what layer can you make an impact, at what layer can you influence with those 5 things that you can do. So one example is in the city of Chicago where I live, the history of redlining has led to the issue of gentrification in the city. And there's so many layers from the political, the economic, the personal, and then the things that I could do in my neighborhood that are possible options. So in the things that you've done in the past and that you are doing now, how do you decide the scope of what you will do, of the something that economic justice will look like for you in that sphere?
That's a wonderful, wonderful question. I appreciate the question, Angelo. Based on my personal experience, the first thing that comes to my mind is passion, right? When you are passionate about something, if you already have something that is burning in your heart. I gave you some example about education for me, right? I have my PhD. I've been part of the minority, being the only one in the room. And I've always thought, why don't we have more women? Why don't we have more minority, right? In engineering field, in science, in technology. That has been a passion for mine since I was even in Cameroon. It's not only in the US, it's all over the world. So everywhere I've been, because of that passion, I always start with that, right? How can I make sure I can bring another woman? How can I make sure I bring another minority to where I am, right? So it starts with that. And then what do I have in my hands? The verse about the little boy, I talk about the compassion, right? Having a heart of compassion. Jesus saw the crowd. It was 5,000 people, a lot of people, right? And they were hungry. How am I going to feed all of them, right? And then one of he asked his disciple, what do you guys have? And then he said, we can't feed all these people, but there's one boy that have five bread and 2 fish. Start with what you have, right? You can have, I don't know if you have, like I was talking about housing hospitality. If I have a room in my home right? Can I help in the area of housing, homelessness, getting one person out of the street, right? To make sure that they are fed, they have a place, at least they have a place. If I have time in my hands, right? Can I, like I say, adopt one school? I did that when I was a graduate at Berkeley. We adopted a school in Oakland to make sure that, you know, I can help to tutor in mathematics. I was good in mathematics. I can help to tutor in science and technology. So start with what you have. What are your capability? What are your skill set? What are your talents, right? You might not be able to solve the whole problem, but you can start with your time, right? You can start with your passion, and that's a baby step. And with the community, you can, as we are debating, I started this racial discourse with my community here in Los Gatos. We are talking about now as a community, what are some of the stuff we can do? And I've learned so much just being able to share with other folks. What are some of the other stuff now, not just by myself, but with other people around, we can do as a community. I hope that helps.
That is such a wonderful and clear answer to say what's your passion and what is already in your hand that you can do. So thank you so much for that. Anyone in the audience that's watching on stream, if you'd like to continue to connect with Dr. Tagni, please leave a comment in the comment box, and we're happy to connect you privately via email or create some way of accessing so that you can ask your questions at a different time